Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. It is Thursday, November the 3rd. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you, ready to break down this massive Thursday card, and I mean massive. Just before we get to this card, I'm going to just touch on two things from last night, the two games that took place. Toronto, everybody can basically peel back from the edge of the cliff, at least for one night, as they get a much-needed win against the Philadelphia Flyers. To cool the waters a little bit after obviously a brutal road trip out west. So give them credit. It might have been one of the best games I've seen John Tavares play as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. The captain, you want to see a captain lead by example when your team's basically got their back against the wall. And boy, did we see that last night from John Tavares. A great game for him. The hat trick as well in that Leaf victory. Got a little testy at the end as Austin Matthews was targeted by Konechny and some of the Flyers. And I know that there's been a lot of banter on Twitter today about that incident, talking about whether Austin Matthews was right or wrong, standing there laughing while all of his teammates are doing the dirty work, coming to his aid and protecting him while he didn't really do much of anything there. So, I understand it's kind of a bad look, you could say, for Austin, not really getting involved in the fracas himself. But at the same time, the guy had a wrist injury last year. Does he really need to be getting into a fight? And it's not like we haven't seen other superstars not fight in a situation like that. So in this case, I get that for Austin, you'd like to see him maybe, just not rely so much on all of his teammates there in that spot. But at the same time, are we coming down hard on McDavid, Kane, and some of these other superstars in that situation who probably would do the same damn thing? Probably just, the teammates come to his aid. We saw that with Domi, with Patrick Kane last week, coming to his aid there. So, it's an interesting debate. I know Mike Rupp got Leafs fans all riled up. I mean, he wanted all the smoke from Leafs Nation. Mike Rupp, who does a good job on television, I will say that. Rupper wanted all the smoke from Leafs Nation with his take and his diatribe that he posted on Twitter about that. But it's an interesting debate. But it's just one of those classic situations where it's don't touch the superstar, and often you're going to see the teammates run to the aid of the superstar. It's not like we're demanding the superstar drop his gloves in that situation.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, we're not expecting him to fight, nor should he. Like I said, especially with a guy who's had issues with his wrist, where to the point of needing surgery. But at the same time, you try to compare it, like I said, with the Patrick Kane situation, Max Domi. Kane was face down on the ice, and before he could even try to get up and do anything about it, Domi rushed over and took care of Tyson Jost. So the difference is that, you get into the scrum, you maybe hold a guy, you square off with another star that is not going to fight, or somebody who's not really keen to throw their gloves out, and at least make yourself engaged. You can't just stand there in the back like you're one of the referees watching everything and overseeing it, especially when you're the guy getting hit. I think that's the part that looked bad. There wasn't necessarily so much that he wasn't jumping in and all of a sudden trying to scrap at somebody. He said you don't want to see that from your superstar, but you do want to see some engagement. And he was a little too disengaged for that situation.
Yeah. That's sort of the main criticism was regarding that and Austin Matthews. And the other game, what a comeback by the Buffalo Sabres, and what a collapse again by the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's back-to-back nights, back-to-back games. They blow multiple goal leads in the third period, and they end up losing the game. Just dreadful from the Penguins, how they have just fallen on really hard times, and returning home was not the answer against Boston, and obviously back-to-back against the Sabres, another lead they could not hold. It was another great game for Tage Thompson. It was a great game for the goal scorer prop bargain bin as well, for Kyle Okposo getting us there with the empty net goal right at the end. And that's one of those things I always tell people, is that don't be scared to come back with that same player the next game if he doesn't score for you the previous game. Sometimes you can't just jump off the ship or the train after one game if he doesn't score. Sometimes you got to stick with it. And we said Kyle Okposo now on the top line, he's going to factor in to a lot of the Sabres offense as long as he stays up there playing alongside Tage Thompson and our guy Skinner for the Buffalo Sabres there. So, and we saw that last night. Great win. I mean, great confidence. And it's such a difference with the Sabres now compared to last year and 2 years ago, where when last year and 2 years ago, Buffalo trails in a game, good night nurse. You could shut the TV off, game over. There was never any kind of spirit to want to come back, and they certainly weren't good enough to come back. Now they're down in a game. They have confidence. They have game breakers offensively. They have a great young group of forwards that are only going to get better. I think the defense has hung in there and played well, considering they're down 3 regulars on the blue line right now when you think about it. Matthias Samuelsson, Henry Jokiharju are both out on that blue line, and so is Ilya Lyubushkin as well for the Sabres. So 3 starting defensemen out. They've still managed to win games. Eric Comrie's been steady and at times good to great in net for the Sabres. So lots to like. What I didn't like last night was seeing all those empty seats again in Buffalo. And I get it. If you're a Sabre fan, it's been a decade of disaster. It's been 10 years of just embarrassment. It's been 10 years of futility. It's been 10 years of just disappointment and fucking painful memories. I get it. And there's some people that are, there was vaccine hesitancy when the pandemic started. This is fan hesitancy because we've seen this from the Sabres before. Strong starts and you collapse at Christmas time, and then by January you fall out of the picture completely and your season's over. I get it. There's definitely some concern that this is going to be the same old Sabres, right? That this great young team is not going to keep this up for 82 games. I get it. And you're clouded mentally by 10 years of just horrendous on-ice product from the Buffalo Sabres. But I don't think you should penalize and punish these players for that. Right now, this is an exciting team to watch. They're finding ways to win. They have scoring up and down their lineup. This blue line is only going to get better with the cornerstones of Samuelsson, Rasmus Dahlin, and Owen. I've got the power on that blue line. They're only going to get better. They've got a better goaltending situation now with Comrie. I'm telling you, Sabres, and I know the Buffalo Bills are the hot ticket. I get it. They are, obviously Super Bowl contenders. That's the number one thing right now from a sports standpoint in that town. It's the Bills, and that probably will always be that way. But at the same time, the Sabres deserve better support than what I've seen on this homestand. So those people in Western New York, I get it. Maybe you're waiting to see if this is sustainable, if they can keep this up for the whole regular season and not fall off the map again. But right now, this is a damn good hockey team. They're playing their tails off every single night. If you're in the Western New York area, get your ass to the arena, get your ass to Key Bank, and support this fucking team. Because that's horrible to see that on television. Optics are bad when I'm seeing all those empty seats last night for as good as this team's playing right now. So show up. I get it. You're hesitant. Things fall apart usually for Buffalo as the season goes on. But right now, they're playing good. Right now, they deserve some goddamn support. Get out there and watch this team. So that's all I have to say about that.
Very, very well said. And I totally agree. Just like I said, if you turn that game on and you see this of a crowd, you wonder, is this, even that good of a matchup? And then, like you said, put on the fact that Pittsburgh had a 5-2, 5-3 lead, you're not, really absorbing the fact that this is a Buffalo team that's on the rise, that's actually doing something positive. And sure enough, they come back and win in grand fashion. And the thing with this too is that you look at Pittsburgh and this collapse back to back, the 6-5 loss against Boston, and then now the 6-3 loss, which of course is a bit inflated too with those 2 empty net goals. The thing that really kind of irked me about the game was I had to draw, and what was interesting was that you see the pace when Pittsburgh had the 3-1 lead, and then Buffalo comes back to even up 3-3, and think, okay, they're going to go back and forth. But the fatigue from the schedule spot that we talked about kicked in that third period. And that's when you start seeing them grab and hold and hit, and then the extra hit. And they took these dumb penalties and put themselves in a spot where where they buried themselves, and Buffalo ran away with it, got the go-ahead goal and the 2 empty netters late. But that's the thing. It's, the handicap of a close game, it was right for the most part. But the scheduling spots, that's why we talk about those so often. That long West Coast road trip, back home and playing a grueling overtime game where you blew a lead against a really good team in Boston, and then turning right back around, hitting the road. And so now with Pittsburgh having 2 days off, it'll be interesting to see when they come back on Saturday against Seattle if they've absorbed this rest, and maybe they might be a team to look on now, betting if they understand the mistakes that they've made within the last 2 games.
Yeah, horrible scheduling spot that the NHL put Pittsburgh in. It has to be said. I mean, they had that gruesomely long road trip out west. You come home, you play Boston, then you send them on the road again on a back-to-back to boot. Now, I know, again, Pittsburgh to Buffalo is minimal travel. It's not like it's a long flight or anything, but still, you're traveling. You got to pack up, got to stay in a hotel and do all this stuff. I mean, it's just taxing on you. And you saw it in the third period. It's an excellent point. I mean, it's not a coincidence that in the third period, they just ran out of gas and they hit a wall. And they're taking all these penalties because they're losing foot race situations. And when do you lose foot race situations and loose puck battles on the ice? When you're tired, when you're fatigued, when you're dragging ass. Yep. And that's exactly what we saw from the Pittsburgh Penguins last night in that game. So we'll see if, and Chris Otto makes a good point. They finally get a little break in their schedule. Man, do they need it right now, the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll see if they can regroup from this, reboot their season, because they need to in the worst way, following what's happened to them the last week to week and a half. Hopefully I personally don't need to reboot anything after last night. It was a great night. I mean, 2-0 sweep with that Penguins Sabres game. We got the over 6.5, and we also got Buffalo as the best bet in their comeback win. Let's see if we can carry that over here to Thursday. It's a huge card. Let's get it started. Carolina and Tampa Bay. We've got the Lightning minus 115 home favorites, 6 the total. In this game, we've seen some money come in on the Carolina Hurricanes in this game, and I think when you see it at the beginning, it's a reaction to the Victor Hedman news. I think that's probably a huge part of it. Downgraded to doubtful in this game. He skated at practice earlier this morning, but John Cooper said after the skate, unlikely to play. Hayden Fleury will be the guy tabbed to take that spot on the Tampa Bay blue line. Obviously, when you lose a guy like Victor Hedman, it's a big deal, and we've seen the betting markets react accordingly, as Tampa, like I said, opened minus 145, and now it's down to close to even money here in this game. I would probably look to play Carolina here a little bit. It's going to be a small play, nothing significant, especially now when you consider where this price is at the moment. Tampa Bay, they've won 3 in a row, 5 of their last 6, but you could make a really good case. Their schedules come up light in some of these games. Ottawa, not the same team on the road that they are at home. San Jose, Anaheim. That's a little bit of a sisters of the poor element going on right now with Tampa Bay in terms of their recent schedule. So I think Carolina, small bet here is warranted here. We know they play Tampa Bay usually pretty tough. We know that they've gone back and forth. And let's keep in mind the last 2 meetings here in Tampa Bay, we saw Carolina win 2-1, Tampa Bay win 4-3. Both of those games go to overtime. Between those 2 teams, the last 2 meetings in T-Bay, and just overall, when the games have been in Tampa Bay, each of the last 3 of the last 4 have gone to overtime. So it tells you that Carolina's played this team tough. And obviously without Hedman, it's going to be a bit of a loss. I still think when you look at the Lightning, they're a team that's got to score a lot more by committee right now. Kucherov has not always gotten it going this year, hoping that a goal he scored the other night against Ottawa can get him going a little bit. It's mostly been the Stamkos point show this year for Tampa Bay. One goal prop that I like for the Lightning here is Nick Paul, moving on up to the second line center spot, and did score the other night. So Nick Paul, I think, is one of those bargain bin options you could look at here when it comes to Lightning props in this game. Alex, what are you liking here, Carolina, Tampa Bay?
Yeah, well, you touched on it about how these games have gone to overtime in Tampa when these 2 teams meet. But when you look at the history, 8 of the last 10 games decided by 1 goal. 3 of the last 6 have gone to overtime as well. So I'm going with the draw here, plus 335. Carolina, Tampa Bay, 2 good goalies in that. These 2 teams that don't really like each other a lot. They know that the upper echelon teams in the Eastern Conference had to play each other in the postseason. Been division rivals off and on for time. I think we're going to see kind of a tight battle. I would actually lean to the under. If you can grab a 6.5, there's a couple spots that still have it out. I would maybe look to an under. I could see this easily being a 2-2 game going past 60 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that. I think it is a good draw option here. I definitely could easily see this going to overtime. There's no question about that, and definitely something to keep in mind. By the way, you want to take a little stab on a goal scorer prop tonight for Carolina. He hasn't scored a ton of goals from the blue line this year, but if you look at the expected goals charts, player charts for Carolina, he probably could have more than the 2 goals he's gotten this year from the blue line, and that's Brent Burns for Carolina. So that's someone to keep in mind. He's got 7 points. You look at the last few games, he's now on a 4-game point streak. He scored finally 2 goals in the last 3 games. That's a good option, in my opinion, on the Carolina side. You know, I always mention Jarvis and Natchez, so you don't even have to. I don't even have to say Jarvis and Natchez anymore. And you know, I'm always going to be interested in props with those two. But I think Brent Burns in particular tonight, he scored two goals in the last 3 games. His expected goals numbers are quite high. He's actually top 5 on the team in expected goals, Brent Burns, and he's a defenseman, so he's shooting the puck a lot. Tampa Bay's penalty kill, and he's going to be out on the power play a lot. Tampa Bay's penalty kill has been hit or miss this year. So Brent Burns at plus 500 in some spots to score a goal tonight. So huge bargain bin price there. Looking for some great value there on Brent Burns tonight. Vegas and Ottawa. We've got Vegas minus 140, road favorite, 6.5 the total in this one. This is a hard one from a side perspective. I'm really in no rush to step in front of this freight train that is the Vegas Golden Knights right now. They came back after a slow first period, sluggish start, beating Washington the other night 3-2 in overtime. I just like the way the team is playing at both ends of the ice. You know, and Bruce Cassidy has said we're going to have our blue line, our defensemen join the rush, but we're also going to not sacrifice good structure, good team defense, and good positioning in our own end to do it. And that's very hard to do when you're trying to get your team to be a little bit more aggressive with their pinching in at the blue line and being involved in the offense, and still want them to be a structured, disciplined, positionally sound team in their own end. And yet Vegas has really done a great job with that. And to me, you can teach this kind of system to be aggressive offensively with your defensemen and still be sound positionally, fundamentally in your own end, because you've got a bunch of veterans. Like if you're trying to teach this shit to a bunch of rookies, good luck with that. It's going to be a clusterfuck. You know, there's going to be guys running out of position. They're not going to know who's going to have who, you know, in the communication. And that's when the coverage breakdowns occur, when your communication's screwed up and people don't know what their assignments are when they're getting back, you know, in a transition situation. When Bruce Cassidy says, I want my defensemen to be aggressive, but I want them also to be in good position, you can much more easily get that through to a veteran blue line. And obviously Vegas has that. Alec Martinez, been around forever. Alex Pietrangelo, been around forever. Shea Theodore now, I consider him a veteran, you know, 5 years now at least in the league. Braden McNabb's been around forever. Let's not forget, Braden McNabb's been with the Golden Knights for years. He was with the Kings, you know, for a few years before that. So he now I consider a veteran defenseman at this stage of his career. So you can much more easily get this kind of style to sink in terms of getting it to sink in and also the execution of it. And I just like what I'm seeing from the Vegas Golden Knights. They really work as a 5-man group cohesively. They've won 5 straight. They're 6-1 in their last 7 games. They've done it with timely scoring and excellent defense and goaltending. And Logan Thompson continues to play terrific for this team. We'll see if he gets the nod tonight. It hasn't been confirmed. When you look at the schedule here, Vegas doesn't play tomorrow night. There's only 2 games. They don't play. So you would think Thompson gets another start. Hasn't been confirmed. It will be Anton Forsberg in net here for the Ottawa Senators tonight. I'm not going to be involved in this game sidewise or totals-wise. Ottawa home games, I'm always leaning toward Ottawa and over. That's just the way I go. And Ottawa is on an over trend right now. They have gone over the total 2 straight, and at home they've really gone over the total quite a bit this year. But Vegas isn't, you know, not exactly an over team right now, are they? With the way they're playing defense and the goaltending they're getting. So that's why it's a tough game. I have the slightest of leans to the over. I'm passing on the side. I like the price with Ottawa as a home dog, but not against Vegas right now. Not the way the Vegas is playing. Am I going against the Golden Knights at the moment? This is more of a prop game for me. I have to take Shane Pinto again. Finally didn't score the other night, but boy, now he's going to be actually moved up to the top line for DJ Smith tonight. He's shaking up the lines a bit, and Shane Pinto will center Batherson and Brady Tkachuk on the top line. So we're going back to the Shane Pinto here in this game tonight. And to be honest with you, we still haven't seen the greatest of adjustments when it comes to his goal prop. You can still get plus 320 in a lot of spots, and here he is on the top line tonight. Alex, what are you liking here? Golden Knights Sens.
Yeah, this is going to be a pass for me. I was on Vegas in their last game in regulation against Washington, and they started off a bit sluggish. They did come back to win the game, but of course they needed overtime to do so. And I feel like this could be one of those kind of games again where it could be kind of go back and forth. He said Ottawa's a tough team at home. But, you know, if I want to take Vegas, and like I said, I want to wait one for the goalie confirmation, because maybe it could be Aiden Hill Even though there's not, a back-to-back spot, but, you just want to give Thompson some rest. You don't want to run him into the ground. He's the guy you're going to really need to rely on as the true number one starter. So, like I said, I want to wait for that. And if it is Thompson, we probably see this number maybe go up a few cents. So it's just, there's other spots on the card I like more. It's going to be a pass.
All right, going to be a pass for Alex, and this one for Vegas. Chandler Stevenson's one I'd consider is from prop standpoint, because expected goals are off the chart for him. He's getting 3, 2, 3, 5 shots on goal. It hasn't always shown up with the goal scoring, but he still has 4 in the last 7 games for the Golden Knights. Chandler Stevenson, to me, has got a little value with his goal scorer prop tonight in this game. And again, you can find that price around plus 285, as high as that for Stevenson tonight. Bruins and Rangers. We've got New York minus 135 home favorite, 6 the total in this one. I mean, I'm not going against the Bruins as a dog with the magic they have rolling right now. There's no question. It's just they find a way. They're relentless. That was an incredible show of never give up, never quit against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Tons of adversity, too, in that game where Linus Ullmark finally probably has his worst game of the season, gets pulled. Jeremy Swayman comes into the game, then gets injured. And then Jim Montgomery's got no choice but to go right back with Ullmark again, put him in to finish the game. And believe it or not, give Ullmark credit. He composed himself mentally when he went back into the game and put up a goose egg and allowed Boston to put up that comeback win against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So impressive with Brad Marchand. I mean, he's come back from this long absence, and he's been just absolutely phenomenal. There's no question. Everybody contributed to the success of that Pittsburgh comeback win. They're getting scoring by committee. That's always the thing we have criticized about Boston, that it's too much on the plate of Bergeron, Marchand, and Pasternak. But right now, Charlie Coyle has it going offensively. Taylor Hall stepped up with the big tying goal the other night. Pavel Zacha, we cashed a goal scorer prop with him. He moved up to the second line center spot prior to that game against Pittsburgh, and we cashed a goal prop with him. And I like Zacha again here tonight, just based on the fact that, again, he's on that second line center spot, and again, mispriced, not being priced like a guy that is playing on the second line center spot right now for Boston. Plus 400 in some spots for Zacha to find the back of the net tonight in this game. I have a small Boston bet here just because, plus 115, they're finding ways to win. To be honest with you, I love this Rangers team, and they're my pick to be in the Stanley Cup final, but can't say I've been impressed with even their wins lately. The Dallas game, it fell apart for Dallas when Ottinger got hurt. Totally changed the complexion of that game. Rangers ended up winning at 6-3, and then barely squeaked by Arizona 3-2, and barely squeaked by Philly 1-0. So they're not winning games easily right now, the Rangers. So I don't love the idea of fading a team. I'm high on the Rangers, but at the same time, Boston's got something special cooking right now. Plus 115. Very hard to pass that. I worry a little bit about Boston maybe falling a little bit flat just because of, they just notched the biggest comeback win in Bruins history against Pittsburgh. Maybe they just fall a little bit flat after that kind of all-out exuded effort to come back in that game. But it's still Bruins or pass for me here tonight in this game. Alex, what do you think, Bruins, Rangers?
I lean with the under. I don't want anything to do with the side. Like I said, Boston's playing lights out right now, and having that big win coming from behind, like I said, you want to be hesitant with that first game afterward, because they could just ride that momentum and keep playing well, or they could, kind of fade out a little bit, especially early in the game. But with that said, if they do fade early, don't have that kind of energy level at the start of the period, the New York Rangers seem to not have that kind of energy at the beginning of the game, whether they're playing well or not. They're a low-scoring team. They're one of the worst as far as first period overs go. So this is one I think could be kind of a low and slow hockey game. Two very good goaltenders playing. Two teams always kind of play each other tough, like to play each other physical. We see some scraps a couple times when these two teams meet up. I remember last Thanksgiving they had this matchup, and we saw a couple of good fights. So, they know that they're two teams they have to deal with in their own division and don't like each other a lot. So that also sometimes can open up to where we see more penalties and more power plays, but I just don't think that's going to be the case here. I think both goalies are going to be ready, especially Ullmark, like you said, kind of having that regeneration, if you will, from the first period to the third period. And now he keeps his unbeaten streak alive, and Shesterkin has not lost in regulation yet. So lean under. That's the only thing I can look at. I can't take any kind of side right now.
Yeah, I think too, Boston wants to cool things down a little bit. They got into a little bit of a back and forth affair with Pittsburgh. Although I will say this, and Sean McDonough and Ray Ferraro mentioned this many times during that Boston-Pittsburgh game the other night, that Jim Montgomery's got when they get the puck and they move up the ice, like everybody's just whoosh, whoosh, right up the ice. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Like their transition game is way faster than it was last year.
And it's so interesting. I would say it's so interesting with that because Montgomery was kind of playing that low defensive style with Dallas, right?
Yep.
And then he was the assistant in St. Louis where they play more of they can, they're good in transition, but they're not going to press the tempo offensively and rush four guys. And it's kind of funny that, once he's gotten the reins on, it's as if he's made adjustments to where, hey, even though the Boston Bruins are known for kind of playing the body, the neutral zone game being stellar, but having that offensive push is huge. And I think in the Eastern Conference, it's almost like there's kind of a stereotype for years. And I think we talk about it a lot too, about the Eastern Conference and Western Conference. The Western Conference seems to be the more faster offensive styled teams, most likely, where you see the more balanced defense efforts come on the East. And sometimes when you have coaches swap around and those philosophies, you flip those things around, and then you can kind of gain an edge because the East, especially the Metropolitan Division, when you look at those teams as a whole, they are kind of defensive oriented. They have good balance. They have talented offensive players, but their system doesn't just dictate them to roll the puck out and let them skate. So I think maybe that's the reason why Boston's kind of catching people off guard right now.
It is, and we'll see. The adjustments got to be made quickly because that's a huge difference. Is that they are definitely getting the defense involved in the attack pretty much every time down the ice. It's been impressive to watch here, but doesn't mean this game is going to be an up and down affair. Certainly the Rangers, and we've got goaltenders assuming it's going to be Allmark, and it obviously should be, yes, and Shesterkin. So, and Allmark finally had like a come back down to earth performance against Pittsburgh, but let's also not forget that he was pretty damn good before the Pittsburgh game, playing really well this year. So I have no issues with anyone looking at an under here. Detroit next up. We've got Washington minus 130, road favorites, 6 being the total. Oh, I forgot to mention too. Let's go back a second. Lexi Lafreniere for the Rangers prop tonight as well. Up to the second line, hit the post the other night against Philadelphia. Had a really good chance, missed the net, getting chances. His expected goals numbers are getting better with each game, being involved more in the offense, and you can get as high as plus 320, plus 340 for Alexi Lafreniere to score a goal tonight for the Rangers. So I like that one. All right, now we can go to Washington, Detroit. We got Washington minus 130, road favorite, 6 the total in this game. Detroit, first game since really in a shoddy defensive performance, shoddy game overall against the Detroit or against the Buffalo Sabres. Tage Thompson goes just ape shit on this Detroit team on Monday night. 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points, lit up Detroit like a Christmas tree 2 months in advance in that game against the Sabres. So it was an ugly game defensively for the Detroit Red Wings. They had a bunch of key injuries out as well. Dylan Larkin says 8 goals. What are we going to do? There's opportunity here. The season's young. We've showed we could be a good team. We have guys who are trying to fight for a spot in the lineup. We have guys coming back from injury. We need to show that we care more every night. So captain kind of calling out his team after that game against Buffalo, rightfully so. I mean, the Red Wings, are a team that I think is better than they showed in that game. But let's not lose sight of the fact either that this is, as I mentioned, a very banged up team at the moment. When you look at who's been out for them, Bertuzzi among others. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't have a better effort tonight. Darcy Kemper in net for the Washington Capitals in this game. You would think Ville Husso will get the starting nod here for the Detroit Red Wings. He damn well should, because, the more we watch things roll along here, Alex, with Nedeljkovic, it's just not happening for him right now.
Yeah,
It's been a tough go, and he's the one that got absolutely crushed by the Buffalo Sabres back on Monday night. So I think it's a Ville Husso time for the Detroit Red Wings. I'm going to take Detroit here. Home dog. I think the pride's going to kick in. Nobody should be happy about losing 8-3. And I've still got my nagging concerns about the Washington Capitals, even though this team is, I've been right with betting against this team. I've pretty much only bet against this team this year. I don't think I've bet on Washington once, but I bet against them a bunch. And some nights I've cashed, some nights they've beaten me. I think this is a night to go against them again. They have lost 2 in a row and tough losses in overtime to Carolina and Vegas, 2 pretty good hockey teams. So, you'd think Washington's going to want to step up here with a better performance here against Detroit. But at the same time, I think you're going to get Detroit's best now after 3 losses in their last 4 games. They're not as bad as they showed against Buffalo, Detroit, in my opinion. But let's not also forget they were good enough to beat Minnesota over the weekend, 2-1. So we know there's quality in this Red Wings team. It's a spot-driven league in a lot of instances. And I think this is a night where, in theory, you should get Detroit's step-up effort in this game. So I'm going to take Detroit plus 110. Alex, Capitals, Red Wings.
Yeah, it's a pass for me, but it is Husso confirmed in net for Detroit. And I agree with you. They have to start riding him and treating him like a true number 1 starter. The thing is, that's a spot he's not really super familiar with, even though he did get a bulk of the action last year with St. Louis. He was still kind of in the rotation like a 1A, 1B kind of a goalie. So you just want to kind of, have some caution when he starts. If he starts getting 4 or 5 games in a row, just kind of watch his progression as games move along, and there might be time to bet against Detroit. But I'm skipping both of those because I just haven't had any good luck with either Detroit or Washington, whether betting on them or against them. It seems like those games just haven't gone my way.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you just, your timing is wrong with a team, and it's like that for me with various teams in other sports too. You bet on them and you're incorrect. You bet against them, you're incorrect. I mean, your timing's off, and sometimes we all have those situations with certain teams. And prop wise tonight, I think there are a couple I wanted to mention. I still think Adam Ernie, who's going to be up in the second line. Again, this is another one of those classic situations that I love to pounce on with the goal scorer props, where you get a guy moving up the lineup. Adam Ernie to the second line, I think, is probably worth a look in terms of scoring a goal tonight. And Elmer Soderblom, who actually is the brother of Arvid Soderblom, and we'll get to him with Chicago later on in this card. But Elmer Soderblom is moving up to the second line for the Detroit Red Wings as well tonight. And he's someone that actually does have a couple of goals on the season. So there's some good prop candidates right there with Adam for Detroit. That is Adam Ernie and also Elmer Soderblom. You can get some very good prices there. For Washington, look, they're banged up too. That's something I didn't mention in the intro to this game. But yeah, Carl Hagelin, Tom Wilson, TJ Oshie, John Carlson, Connor Brown. Of course, Backstrom hasn't played this year. At some point, all these absences are going to show up for Washington, and maybe they're already starting to show up, having lost 2 straight going into this game. But things that factor in definitely for Detroit here in this one. I'm just checking to see right now where the prices are for that, but we'll get to them later on. But they're good prices with Ernie and with Soderblom. We're talking plus 375 to 400 range with those guys to score a goal here tonight for Detroit. All right, next up, Seattle, Minnesota. Minnesota minus 170, home favorites, 6.5 being the total in this one. Pretty interesting to see. There's a lot of Seattle money that's been rolling in here because Minnesota opened minus 220, and now they're all the way down to minus 170 here in this home game tonight against the Kraken. Marc-Andre Fleury, Martin Jones confirmed as your goaltending matchup here tonight in this game. There are some injuries for Minnesota. Ryan Hartman obviously placed on IR. Foligno remains out. Brandon Duhaime, who's been a nice little spark plug, a little bit of everything. He scored a few times. He's obviously had that physical presence for Minnesota. He'll be out for them tonight as well. Seattle coming off the huge comeback against the Calgary Flames the other night was very impressive. This team actually, if you look at their advanced numbers defensively, they actually are among the top 5, top 10 teams in the league in terms of chances allowed, shots allowed, all that kind of stuff. I mean, they're actually playing some solid defensive hockey, the Seattle Kraken. The goaltending's at least been a little bit better during this stretch. They've won 3 of their last 4. They certainly have some positive momentum, but at the same time, you have to also consider that maybe these last 3 wins, Alex, were flat spot for the opponent, right? Buffalo at the end of the long road trip that was very successful, flat spot. Same thing with Pittsburgh. For them, it was the very end of that long road trip, and they took advantage of that, beating Pittsburgh. Calgary the other night, I don't think he got Calgary's A game. I'll be brutally honest. And if you listen to Daryl Sutter, and I'll reiterate this when we talk about Calgary's game tonight against Nashville, you'll hear that he didn't think they had their best game either. So Seattle kind of took advantage of teams that were either at the end of a road trip, brutal spot, tough spot, or a team that maybe didn't have their A game. Will we see Minnesota fall into that? Minnesota, here at home, we have seen for the most part, other than the Detroit game where they actually didn't play that bad in that loss, they have brought their A game in 4 of their last 5. So It's not a game I'm going to get involved in from a side perspective, probably neither a totals perspective either. More so going to look at some props here when it comes to Seattle and Minnesota. And I think for Seattle, you can sprinkle just a little bit on the three guys that are going to be on the top line, because Dave Hackstall's really shaken things up here. He's got now Burakovsky, Alex Wenberg, and Oliver Bjorkstrand as his top line going into this game tonight. And you could get pretty good prices with all three of those players in terms of scoring a goal tonight. Burakovsky is in the plus 300 range to score for the Kraken tonight on that top line. Bjorkstrand, who struggled, you can still get him plus 270. And now Wenberg centering the top line. He's as high as plus 450 to plus 500. So there are some good opportunities there on the Minnesota side. Boldy, Rossi, and obviously we have to mention Mason Shaw because of the fact, first game up with the team last time out. I got as high as plus 575 on Mason Shaw to score a goal the other night against Montreal. Sure enough, he comes through. And I like that he got into the fracas a little bit as well. He wasn't scared to mix it up a little bit. He went to the hard areas of the ice, which is where you want to go to score goals. And Mason Shaw, not quite the price we saw against Montreal, but you're still getting north of plus 400, plus 475 at some spots. Mason Shaw to score a goal. He's going to maintain his position in the lineup tonight against Seattle, playing on the second line with Joel Eriksson Ek and Matt Boldy. So Mason Shaw, again, I think if you cashed with him the other night, why would you not take a shot, come right back, roll right back with Mason Shaw tonight? Alex, what do you think here? Seattle, Minnesota.
Yeah, I like this first period over a lot. You can find 2 at plus $1.10, or you can maybe search around and find a 1.5 around 150, 155. I'm going to play it with the 2 and be a little safer. I think Minnesota, as Terry Edelman pointed out in the chat, they've got 4 days off after this, so they can kind of empty the tank a little bit and like I said, try to continue the momentum that they had on the road on this now with this homestand. Of course, like I said, they beat Montreal 4-1, but I think Seattle's a little bit better of a team than Montreal. Seattle's got a little bit more offensive punch than Montreal, so should be a back and forth affair. And like I said, with Marc-Andre Fleury, his great numbers, they've been away from St. Paul right now. The numbers, at home have not been stellar for him. So remains to see if he can bring his A game at XL Energy Center this season. I'm going to take a shot and say that if he does have it, it's not going to be in the first 20 minutes. I like over 2 in the first period plus $1.10.
Right, there we go. An over 2 in the first period for Alex B. Smith in this one. I certainly leaned, if I were to play the total, and I probably won't, but I will lean over at 6.5. I mean, he was great against Montreal, but maybe that's just he's great against Montreal because, as Alex stated, Marc-Andre Fleury, prior to the Montreal performance at home the other night, his home numbers not great at all this season. And maybe it's just he loves playing Montreal and he gets up to play Montreal and he plays well against them. This could be a night where I could see Fleury give up a few. And look, Seattle's got their offensive mojo rocking a little bit now. They should have confidence offensively when you put a 5 spot on the board against a very stingy, very defensively sound most of the time Calgary Flames team. So I would lean over if I were to bet the total here. Montreal, Winnipeg. We've got Winnipeg minus 210 home favorites here. 6.5 the total in this game. 6.5. Some spots have 6, some have 6.5. I'd be careful with this one playing it over because Sammy Montembeault is going to be in net for Montreal. He's actually been pretty good this year. We got to give the young kid, a lot of credit for the Canadians in between the pipes. Numbers are pretty solid. And in fact, the last few starts he's been good. We know Alabuck's been absolutely phenomenal here. Some of these last couple games that he's had, the Vegas game, they only get a point in that game because of his heroics, 46 saves on 48 shots in that game. He had obviously a shutout against St. Louis a couple games earlier. So 2 of the last 3 starts for Hellebuck have been very good for the Winnipeg Jets. I've been trying to make a case to take Montreal at times as underdogs, but with Winnipeg here having some time following the road trip that they just completed through LA, Arizona, and Vegas. It was a 3-game road trip. They won 2 of the 3, but they did lose the Vegas game. And from all indications, they were not happy about it either, losing that Vegas game. And finally, it looks like Rick Bowness back behind the bench and hopefully for good. First, it was COVID. Then he came back briefly. Then he had dizzy spells for a bit, and he couldn't be behind the bench because of that. But now apparently he's finally feeling good again and should be behind the bench moving forward for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. Feels like a Jet spot, certainly would lean in regulation with them, but I don't necessarily love the idea conceptually of going against Montreal when they're getting these kind of prices. They could strike for an upset win at any given night. They've got that kind of team. They're going to have some nights where it just doesn't click for them and they get rolled. And then there's going to be nights they're doing what they've done a couple of times this year, like St. Louis, for example, and Toronto in the first night of the season where they're pulling an upset or two. So very volatile team to handicap on a game-by-game basis. So we'll lean under, but I'm going to pass on the side. Kirby Dach, I would come back to him from a prop standpoint. He's on the top line again for Montreal tonight. He didn't score the other night, but you don't give up after one game. We didn't give up after Kyle Okposo didn't score after moving to the top line in the first game, and he scored into the empty net last night. So I say stick with it with Kirby Dach with his goal scorer prop tonight playing on the top line. Maybe look at a Cole Perfetti for the Winnipeg Jets. This guy's got extreme skill and maybe finally starting to show it. So Perfetti on the Winnipeg side and Dach on the Montreal side are props, goal scorer props that I'm interested in here. Alex, Canadiens Jets.
This is one where I'm looking at from a live perspective, that first period over. You can get it at minus $1.40, which isn't bad of a price, but I just want to see the tempo and pace in which these two teams play. You might be able, especially if you have like a BetMGM, you might be able to get a live one, laying say $1.05 or $1.10. So you push on a goal, go over with two, and may not even need the hook there. So this is one I'm going to kind of watch for in that range. As far as the side goes, definitely don't want anything with Winnipeg at that high of a price. They said Montreal, they are coming back, but with Montembeault and that, still a bit shaky. I don't trust him enough, even at $1.80 price. So pass on the side, looking for a live first period look.
All right, looking for a live first period look here for Alex in this one with Canadiens and Jets. Like I said, yeah, I'm just trying to see the price that we had on Dach. Like Dach is getting a price again. It's one of those situations where top line players shouldn't be getting this price. And it's plus 400, plus 450 in some spots, Kirby Dach, even though he's on the top line for the Montreal Canadiens. Again, these aren't always going to hit. And I'll say this again, because, we know a lot of our viewers and listeners, Alex, they can't tune into every show, but I'll say this again. I'm never going to say betting Austin Matthews minus 120 to score a goal is a bad bet. I'm never going to say Connor McDavid plus 110 to score is a bad bet. But for me, I'm looking for value. I'm looking for real legit edges and situations that are absolutely not accounted for in the pricing of these goal scorer props. And that's what I'm mentioning up and down the board. Mason Shaw's not being priced right. Kirby Dach isn't being priced right. We're going to get to a couple more in just a bit that are nowhere close to being priced right, given the situation that's unfolding. So those are the kind of goal-scoring prop options that I'm taking advantage of, and that's why I call it the bargain bin, because I often find they're bargain bin and they're good value bets, win or lose. And like I said, Dach at plus 400 or greater to score when he's playing top-line minutes tonight. It's the kind of situations that I live for, if you will, when it comes to goal scorer player props. All right, next up, we've got the New York Islanders and the St. Louis Blues, who are singing the blues right now. Oh, my goodness. They're like Pittsburgh right now of the West. They can't get out of their own way, not playing good hockey at all, and they're minus 120 home favorites tonight against the Islanders, 6 being the total in this one. So, I made the mistake of trusting St. Louis in a bounce back spot against Los Angeles. I'm not doing it again. Okay, now the team is at a point where we've got to put them in the drawer, as the late Dave Malinsky once said, and we've got to let them show me something before I'm ready to get back on the St. Louis Blues and back them here. This is Islanders or pass for me. I'm passing because I know the moment I take the Islanders tonight, St. Louis is going to win. That's where I kind of feel like I'm at this place with my timing with St. Louis, as Alex is with Washington and Detroit that he mentioned earlier. It's just the timing's been off. So I'm not involved in this game sidewise or totals wise. I mean, in theory, it's supposed to be, you give up 7 to Montreal, you give up 5 to LA on home ice. Don't you have to show up defensively and dig in and play a hard, sound, strong defensive game for a change if you're St. Louis? I would think so. We'll see if they can deliver it, though. They're certainly struggling at that end of the ice. The Islanders have won 4 straight. They're playing a little bit better. So you talk about taking the current form. 5 straight losses for St. Louis, 4 straight wins for the Islanders. So there's no question about it. The Islanders are playing better hockey. I would only look at the Islanders, although I'm not in this game, because it's that fear inside that, you took St. Louis the other night against the Kings, and now you're going to roll back with the Islanders, and you just worry St. Louis. This is the night for St. Louis, but I still think if it's Islanders or pass for me from a side perspective. Prop-wise, we have a lot to talk about with this game, certainly. First of all, I've talked about Oliver Wahlstrom quite a bit here for the New York Islanders. Top line minutes, he's worth a look. I think Brock Nelson was in a scoring slump. He finally broke out of it against Chicago the other night. You could have some value with him moving forward. I like these, these are good offensive players that can score goals, that have kind of struggled, and maybe you look at them to bounce out of it. For the St. Louis side, O'Reilly Auto Parts calling out his own game after the LA loss, saying, I need to be better. It's not just the team. I'm the captain. I need to be better. Watch him be better tonight. He usually responds when he calls himself out. He's that kind of heart and soul player. So plus 280 on O'Reilly to score a goal, I like for the Blues. And the big one, the pièce de résistance, if you will, from a goal scorer prop standpoint here tonight. We've got Noel Acciari, and this is a Jimmy Murphy special because Jimmy Murphy, is the Massachusetts guy. Noel Acciari, he's mentioned him before. He is getting the promotion because of how hard he's worked. Craig Berube is looking for guys that are going to give a fuck. Right. He's looking for guys that are going to do the grunt work, battle for loose pucks, board battles, win one-on-one battles for pucks. Noel Acciari can do that. He's noticed that. And Noel Acciari's playing on the top line tonight, moving all the way up to the top line. This has been a guy that's played third and fourth line all season. He's moving all the way up to the top line tonight for the St. Louis Blues, playing with Ryan O'Reilly and Braden Shen on the top line. And you can get Noel Acciari on the top line tonight for the St. Louis Blues at plus 600 to as high as plus 675 to score a goal in this game tonight. 600 at DraftKings, 600 at BetMGM, 620 at other places. Unbelievable. 675 at Caesars. That's the zenith of the value right there with Noel Acciari tonight. It's an outstanding opportunity and situation. Again, doesn't mean he's going to score, but you give me a plus 600 or better with a top line player in a spot where the Blues have their backs against the wall. You'd expect them to come out firing. They damn well should. Shame on them if they don't. You'd expect this to be a game where Noel Acciari maybe finds the back of the net, and what a price that is on that, plus 600 to plus 675. And if you actually look at these expected goals numbers, he's ahead of many Blues players in expected goals. He's fifth on the team in expected goals. Noel Acciari. You'd expect, more than four players to be ahead of Noel Acciari in expected goals based on how loaded this group is with their forward group. So Noel Acciari, and I think Robert Thomas as well, someone I would consider on the Blues side if they're going to get things going tonight in this game. He has been dropped to the third line. His expected goals numbers are good, though, and he's still getting plus 300. So it's a good game for props. A lot of opportunities and a lot of value based on these lineup situations. Alex, what are you thinking here? Islanders and Blues.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you that Noah Acciari prop. That's incredible. It's at 6-1, and like I said, being in that top five shots expected and shots taken, that's definitely a great bargain bin play for sure. But as far as the side and regular total goals, I want nothing to do with this game. St. Louis, he said they've been one of those tough teams to read as well. Same thing with the Islanders. Like I said, Lane Lambert's kind of let the offense roam a little bit more than Trotz. So, it's kind of hard to read some of these totals now where, 6 with the Blues game, I'd love to go over 6. But with the Islanders, yes, they're trending toward over, but they can always kind of clamp down defensively at any moment and just still want to kind of get more of a feel. So it's a good game to watch, but definitely one I'll be passing other than the Acciari prop to score a goal.
I think that's, again, excellent value. There's no question with Acciari here in this game. Again, top line, and you're going to get a guy on the top line plus 600. That's the minimum. I mean, you can get, like I said, plus 675 even at some spots with him to score a goal tonight in this game. So absolutely a terrific opportunity. No question about that for this game in terms of props. And again, we're going to see if they can answer the bell. This St. Louis Blues team, because that's 2 times that they've just been really borderline embarrassed on their home ice. We'll see if they can turn things around tonight in this game. Yeah, I'm just seeing it now. I'm just confirming that I'd want to make sure I didn't see things. Yeah, Acciari is 5th on the St. Louis Blues in expected goals. There's only 4 players ahead of him: O'Reilly, Kyrou, Thomas, and Tarasenko. That's it. Noel Acciari's ahead of guys like Braden Shen, Close Shave Barbashev, and others. Buchnevich, go on down. He's ahead of a bunch of Blues in the expected goals category for this team. So yeah, you talk about tremendous value. That prop definitely on Acciari is Tremendous value. Kings and Blackhawks. Kings minus 170 road favorites. 6.5 was the total. It's down to 6 now in this game. I'm puzzled by the downward move in the total in this game. I'll tell you what, Alex, we kind of came into the season saying, this LA Kings team, they're going to be more of an over team this year. Well, 7-1-2 to the over in their last 10 games. They've definitely taken that projection from me preseason that we're going to cash some overs with the LA Kings this year. It has happened. And it's not surprising, in my opinion, because when you look at this team, they still want to play pretty solid, sturdy defense, but they have a lot of great puck-moving defensemen now with Mikey Anderson and Sean Dursey, among others. They've got way more firepower up front. Kempe, Kopitar, and the explosion, of course, of one of my favorite players in the entire season and in the league right now, because I've just cashed a shit ton of goal props with him, Gabe Vilardi, who has just been absolutely incredible for the LA Kings, night in and night out, getting chances, scoring goals, was held off the scoreboard finally and held pointless for the first time in 4 games against Dallas the other night in that 5-2 loss. But it was a tough spot for LA. Back-to-back games on the road. He had scored in 4 straight games before that. He has 8 goals, 5 assists, 13 points on the season. We've been taking it every game, betting it every game. Gabe Vilardi to score a goal. You know damn well we're going to be back on it here tonight. And still not a huge adjustment yet with him. Plus 280, starting to get adjusted a little bit. Plus 280, plus 250. Those 300s that we used to get are gone with Gabe Vilardi. So they're finally sliding that, base price point for him to score a goal in the direction they should be, because you can't keep the guy that's got 8 goals, plays on the top line at plus 300 forever to score a goal. You got to make an adjustment at some point, and they're starting to do that here with Gabe Vilardi. Bet365 has plus 280. That looks like the best you can get with Vilardi tonight in this game. Again, still playing with Kopitar and Kempe on the top line for the Kings. Witness the power of Grundstrom. He's starting to actually percolate a little offensively for LA as well. Carl Grundstrom playing on that third line, so that might be worth a look as well. From the Chicago side of things, their offense got held down by the Islanders 3-1 the other night. Now things are starting to go in the other direction for the Blackhawks. 4 straight losses. Alex was never one of these Blackhawks fans that was thinking after the hot start, wow, it's actually going to be a different season. Now we're starting to see reality sink in a little bit. The work ethic is still there for Chicago, but again, they are not going to be able to always win games with work ethic and will alone. And now we're starting to see signs of that from Chicago in their last few games. So 4 straight losses for them. Playing the Kings. I mean, I lean Kings in regulation here. Actually, that's probably a bet I will add, is Kings in regulation here to get the job done in this game. I'm not a big Arvid Soderblom guy, as you know, and Alex I don't think is a big, isn't really trustworthy of him in net either. 3.1 goals against, 920 save percentage this year. Last year, the numbers weren't good. 5 goals against, 863 save percentage. I'll tell you what, though, he didn't play that bad. Though against the Islanders on Tuesday night. We'll give him some credit for that. Held him to 3 goals. I mean, he can't score for Chicago. They couldn't get their offense going. He didn't play that bad, but he's one of those players that I'm going to need, Alex, and you can speak on this as a fan that sees this team all the time. I'm going to need to see the guy play 2 good games in a row. To me, he looks like he's going to be one of those goalies where he can surprise and rise up and have a really good game and then just shit the bed and be bad the next game. I think he's got that kind of thing going right now. So I need to see examples of him playing solid in net twice in a row before I'm ready to trust him. So Kings in regulation. The bet I really like is the over, though, in this game. I don't understand why this total's gone down a half goal. I like goals in this game. Kings Blackhawks over 6. Quick and net for LA, but LA is not exactly totally shutting things down of late, and they've been on the road for a little bit. I could see Chicago being able to get a little bit of goal production going tonight. So I like the over here at 6 for sure with these 2 teams. Alex, Kings, Blackhawks.
This is definitely a game that I circled yesterday for the team total over with the LA Kings. And now you can get 3.5 at even money. I actually laid $1.10. I love this play a lot. I mean, like I said, I'm not big on Arvid Soderblom at all. And now, not only is he going to have to fill in a spot starts, no, he's the number 1 guy with Stalock and Mrazek out. Now, Mrazek could come back next week. That's what reports are indicating, which would put him right along the time frame to play LA in Los Angeles when they go on the California road trip. So What you see now, maybe take with a bit of a grain of salt because things could get back to normal, and we might see at least somewhat normal. Peter Mrazek starting, and Soderblom would be reduced to the backup. This just, like I said, streams a full over game on both sides as well. Even with Quick in that, Quick made a ton of saves in that 5-1 win against St. Louis, but he faced a ton of shots. There wasn't much shot blocking in front of him. He had to stand up and make those 10-bell saves, especially late in the third period. So he is susceptible to giving up, a few rebounds a couple times in the night. Maybe the Hawks can capitalize and go that way. So I like this team total over with LA, but I also like the full game over 6 as well.
There you go. That's probably, what I might do too with the Kings is the Kings, rather than put it all in regulation, do a split with the reg bet and the team total. That team total is good value, 3.5 even money. I might split it up half and half with the Kings plus the full over 6 bet. So definitely a lot to like here in this game. A lot of props to like as well, as I mentioned. And again, Domi and Radish is where I'd start and end with Chicago. Goal scorer props as well right now going into tonight's game. All right, that's not Seattle-Calgary. We will change that. It's actually New Jersey and Edmonton next up here on this Thursday card. This should be a good game the way New Jersey's playing right now. We've got the Oilers minus 160 home favorites in this game. The total sitting at 7, believe it or not, between these two teams. I think at 7, I'm probably not going to bet it. I've already had bad luck this year with unders for the most part. I still remember that Florida-Philadelphia game. I'm still scarred by it. I mean, I liked the under in that game, and it was 2-1 in the first 10 minutes. But this one, I could make a case for the under. Don't look now. The Devils are a top 5 team, expected goals allowed, all the defensive metrics and categories. New Jersey is doing very well in a lot of those categories right now. You got to give them a lot of credit. This is about as sturdy a defensive hockey team as I've seen in years out of the New Jersey Devils, and they are playing some terrific hockey, both ends of the ice. They actually have gotten goaltending from Vanacek. Hell, even my mortal enemy, Mackenzie Blackwood, played okay the other night against the Vancouver Canucks, but especially with Vitek Vanacek, very good in net. He's been as well for the Devils. Edmonton, again, they gave Campbell the start against Nashville. He was better, but he's still not shutting the door completely. Even though they had that, they just made Nashville's defense look foolish in that game. Edmonton rolling the Predators early, and then it was just too much of a hole for the Predators to dig out of, and Edmonton ended up cruising to a 7-4 victory. But he still gave up 4 goals on 23 shots, Jack Campbell, in that game. So he's still kind of scuffling a little bit. So back Jay Woodcroft goes to Stuart Skinner for the Edmonton Oilers here in net, who's been absolutely fantastic for them. I mean, and that's why he's got this goaltending platoon going right now, where the assumption going into the year was Jack Campbell's going to start the majority of the games. Not the case anymore because of the way Stuart Skinner's played. 1.59 goals against average, 955 save percentage, excellent numbers this year. Edmonton playing good hockey at the moment. They're on a nice roll, 5 straight wins coming into this game, beating St. Louis, beating Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Chicago, Calgary, Nashville. But now you're playing outside your conference, right? You've got an Eastern Conference team coming in here. I think it's a live dog spot, honestly, for New Jersey. I like the way New Jersey's playing at the moment. Plus 140 is a good price. The stats and the numbers are off the charts. And now if you actually watch this team play, the eye test is matching those stats. Everybody's raving about the gaudy statistical profile of the New Jersey Devils right now, but the eye test is matching that. Like, they destroyed Columbus. Vancouver was really never in that game. They shut out the Colorado Avalanche last week, which is hard as fuck to do, shutting out the defending Stanley Cup champions. They are legit right now. Again, the key word is right now. I mean, people are now saying buy futures on this team. I need to see another month. Can we give it another month? Can we give it another 2 months? I still want to see if this is sustainable long-term. But right now, this team is legit, and they're playing great hockey. And to me, they're catching too big of a price right now, the way they're playing. So I like New Jersey here, plus 140. Alex, Devils, Oilers.
Yeah, and I understand that look, especially when you look at Edmonton, a bit misleading with that big win they had in that last game against Nashville. It was kind of a closer game than expected early in the contest. I'm going to take a lean here with the draw at plus 375. I think we could see, like I said, if New Jersey does play their A game in the style they want, they got to try to limit that offense. Keep the puck away from number 97 as much as possible. Draisaitl as well. Limit those two guys. Limit their exposure a little bit. And maybe we see this one stay pretty close. I'm not suggesting it would be an under, because we've seen these two teams kind of trend when they do play each other to the over, but we've also seen 5 of the last 10 meetings go into overtime or a shootout. So at that big of a price here, like I said, maybe Edmonton kind of underestimates New Jersey a little bit, lets them hang on a little longer than they should, and this game goes past 60 minutes.
All right, another draw from the Draw King right here, Alex P. Smith, looking like that's his bargain bin. The draw. Mine's the goal scorer player props. His is the draw when it comes to the bargain bin prices. But yeah, this should be a competitive game. I expect that. So I think it's definitely worth a look here in this one. When I look at the props, by the way, I think it's a good game to look at props when you look at it. Kyler Yamamoto, by the way, when you look at it, is a guy that's 5th in the team in expected goals, second line. I think I agree with a look toward his prop, and I stick with the Nuge as long as he stays on the top line for Edmonton, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. For the New Jersey Devils, someone in the chat's already on to what I'm thinking. Back on Fabian Zetterlund on the top line again for New Jersey. He's had a bunch of chances, scored against Columbus. Didn't score the other night, but had a bunch of chances. And Fabian Zetterlund's not being priced again, like so many other players we've talked about. Kirby Dach and Noel Acciari for St. Louis tonight, not being priced like a guy playing on the top line for the New Jersey Devils. Fabian Zetterlund's plus 400 in some spots to score a goal tonight for the Devils. So I agree with that prop look. Jesper Bratt is heating up, and when he heats up, you just bet him to score a goal, a point, whatever the case may be, and he is starting to get it going for the Devils. If you want some extra value in your props for the Devils, Sharon Govich, Mercer, Wood, and Bastian are all really getting chances. Expected goals numbers are very solid for those 4 guys, and you could get extreme bargain bin value. And I mentioned this the other night with Wood and Bastian. Both of those guys are getting power play time as well, and you can get both of them in that plus 400 range. Bastian at plus 550 to score a goal. So again, you don't go wild betting, big amounts on these props, but you sprinkle a little bit on all these guys at these prices, and you just hit 1 or 2, and man, you'll notice it in your bankroll. There's no question about that. So nice little game when it comes to player props tonight. Nashville, Calgary. We've got Calgary minus 200 to minus 210. Home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. Certainly feels like a Calgary, rally the troops and bounce back type of situation after blowing a third period lead against Seattle, which does not happen very often to the Calgary Flames. And it's not like it's difficult to fade Nashville right now. This team's fallen apart. They've lost their identity defensively. They've had basically the kind of season where one game they're okay defensively and they get good goaltending from Saros and they don't score. And the next game, their offense is there and the defense falls apart. And then the defense is there and they don't score. It's been that kind of season for the Nashville Predators. Shut out by Washington, lose to Edmonton. They're on a dreadful run. Other than a win against St. Louis with Thomas freaking Greiss in net in that 6-2 win over St. Louis, they still have 2 wins on the season other than that, and that was San Jose in Czechia to begin the season. So this is just not a team playing very good hockey right now. I think the hot seat's got to get turned up right now on John Hines. They're taking way too many penalties as well. Bit of a fragile group going on with the Predators, and you would think Calgary will be looking to bounce back here in this spot. So what I think I'm going to do with this game is what I'm going to do with the LA game as well. We're going to do a Calgary in regulation and a Calgary team total over split in this game. I think that's the way I'm going to go about it here with the Predators and the Flames. You can get the Calgary Flames in regulation here in this game at a pretty solid price. Closer to even money is what you can find with that. Calgary in regulation, minus 124 at Pinnacle. I like that price, and also over 3.5 with the Flames team total. It's just a lot of problems right now with the Nashville Predators. UC Saros has not been confirmed in net. It is Jacob Markstrom confirmed for the Calgary Flames after, remember, it was Vladar who got the start against the Seattle Kraken the other night. So they go back to Markstrom here tonight in this game for the Calgary Flames. As far as props go in this game, we do have one for Nashville that I do like. It's Tanner Jeannot moving up to the second line. And that guy just busts his tail every night. So it wouldn't shock me to see him get a one of those goals that's 2 feet from the front of the net, because he does crash the net pretty good. That might be worth a look. Daryl Sutter, after the Seattle loss, Alex said, Jonathan Huberdeau's got to bring more speed to his game. And Daryl will do this every now and then, where he'll just needle one of his players in a post-game press conference and say, you know what, we need just a little subtle jab or a comment saying we need a little more from you. So don't be surprised if Huberdeau answers the bell tonight for the Calgary Flames. And again, he's not the kind of bargain bin goal scorer prop price that we get with other players. But given the situation tonight, I'm going to look at Huberdeau plus 250 to score a goal tonight. I think he answers the bell here for the Flames after Sutter not happy with his, not playing up to speed the other night against Seattle after that loss. And a couple more for the Flames. Mangiapane's up to the top line. Lucic is up to the second line. We mentioned that the other night. Could sprinkle on those two players maybe as well for scoring a goal tonight. Alex, what do you think here, Nashville, Calgary?
The thing about Daryl Sutter teams is that when they do go into a bit of a slump, obviously when they try to correct their game, it's going to be from the back end out. And that's the thing that kind of worries me with, looking at an over or even the team total with Calgary. Yes, they can have the talent to score 4 or 5 goals, but if they play a Sutter style game, it's going to be a 3-2, 3-1 kind of a battle.
Yeah. And that would fall short with the team total, which is a perfect example of why I'm splitting this up. And you should have something regulation in pocket in case it's 2-1, 3-1. Exactly.
But then here's my fear with the regulation play. 4 of the last meetings between these two teams and 5 of the last 6 have gone to overtime or a shootout. So Calgary playing tight against Nashville historically. Calgary looking like they could be in a position to play tight tonight. They should be able to blow out Nashville, but like I said, and if it is Saros in that, I feel even more comfortable. I might sprinkle a little bit, nothing big, but something small in that plus 385 here with the draw.
All right. Can't argue with the historical numbers and series history with the Preds and the Flames. You're right. Definitely many games going beyond regulation. And so the draw worth a look here, according to Alex with this one. All right. Next up, we've got Dallas and Arizona. Win number 1 at the Mullet House the other night for the Arizona Coyotes. Can they build off that here at home once again, taking on the Dallas Stars? Dallas minus 215. Road favorites in this game. The total 6 pretty much across the board. I don't have a strong feel for the side here. I mean, I think Dallas is the better team, obviously, should win the game. But and Arizona, to me, I think the Dallas team total over actually might be of interest to me, because here we go again with Karel Vejmelka, okay, who has a very, very strong track record of following up a heroic stand on his head performance with something completely different in his very next start. And I'm worried we see that tonight, because that's been the track record, if you will, of him in between the pipes. Now, he was nothing short of brilliant. Actually, you know what? We're not going to see him. Throw that out. We're not going to see Vejmelka tonight. Connor Ingram has been confirmed as the starting goaltender tonight for the Arizona Coyotes. But one last thing about Vejmelka, he was phenomenal. I still can't believe, Alex, how Florida did not tie the game in the final couple minutes in that third period. It's literally everything but find the back of the net for the Panthers in that final 2 minutes. It was an incredible flurry and push they put on in the late stages of that game. But the Coyotes hung on. They got the saves from Vejmelka. They blocked a shit ton of shots as well. Very impressive commitment to protect that lead by the Arizona Coyotes. We'll see how they fare here. If they can, again, we're talking about Arizona. We mentioned this theme last year too. These bad hockey teams, do we trust them to put a win streak together? Do we trust them to string wins together, multiple wins in a row? No, we don't usually. So that's the worry here, is that Arizona is going to be one of those teams where they're going to spring up and win a few games. They're going to pull some upsets. But do we think it's going to be a sustainable, they get hot, they go on a win streak type of situation? No. And the proof is in the pudding. Last year, they were positively horrendous off a win. Terrible in that situation. This year already off a win, you know what's happened? They beat Toronto 4-2. They lose to Montreal 6-2 in the very next game. They beat Columbus 6-3. The very next game, they lose to Winnipeg in their Mullet Arena debut. So already they're 0-2 off a win this year. So that tells you they are not able to carry momentum forward from one game to the next. And why is that? Because they're a bad fucking hockey team. That's why. I mean, it's just very difficult to string wins together. So, and we don't trust teams in that in that situation to do that. So for me, this is a pass. It's a small lean to Dallas in either regulation or a Dallas team total over. Especially now with Ingram in net, I could see Dallas having a better chance to get some offense going. The guy's got a 3.69 goals against average, 891 save percentage this year, Ingram. He's given up 3+ in every start this year. We'll see if that continues here tonight. But this is more of a game for some props potentially. Mason Marchment, Wyatt Johnston for Dallas. Pretty good prices interest me. Maybe you look at a Lawson Krause and a Dylan Gunther for Arizona. More of a game where I might bet on those 4 props, but nothing for me side or total. Alex, Dallas, Arizona.
When the Arizona Coyotes leave Mullet Arena tonight, the next time they will be back in that building will be December 9th. They're about to embark on a 14-game road trip after this. And at least
that's so they can get that shit show of a dressing room situation.
That's it, yeah. They'll have brand new locker rooms to actually, and not dress in a hallway like a midget team.
With curtains.
It's unbelievable just how they bungled that. But
little chairs there, like you'd put on in a backyard or something. Yeah.
I played floor hockey. I played floor hockey. I was 18 years old, and we got dressed in better rooms than that. It's just unbelievable. But the thing that everybody is talking about, and like I said, I've been following these quotes, not just from the Coyotes, but from every opposing team that's come into Mullet Arena so far. They're talking about the ice. They said Pierre-Luc Dubois said this is the best ice he's played on in an NHL game. Everybody's talking about how fast the boards are reacting to the puck. Like I said, I talked about it yesterday or last game with the Coyotes about the sight lines, how that might cause some issues. And so far, it's actually kind of affected the offense. The goaltenders seem to kind of be focusing in maybe a little bit more. So that's the thing we have to kind of look at when you're talking about a new arena. This is something also I kind of harping on a little bit with the Islanders, because with their new arena last year, keep in mind they played at old Nassau Coliseum. They had also played in Brooklyn. And that was something we saw of a change where their defense actually did get a little bit tighter. Granted, they are a better defensive team than we're talking about with Arizona. Arizona's got goaltending issues. Connor Ingram's going to be starting in that. He's a goalie I do not trust one bit. And this number we've seen go down with the total. You're seeing a 6. You're seeing 1.5 as low as $1.25 at MGM. And the reason for that is everybody's looking at Dallas, 4 and 6 the first 10 games going to the first period, trending under, just like they were for the last couple of years. But they are still an offensive-minded team. They still have some good talent up front. And like I said, with this live ice, these live boards against the Arizona team that, hasn't, like I said, been shining at home in this little 4-game stand, I like this first period over a lot. I got 1.5 minus $1.25. If you see anything above 140, I would suggest playing it live, waiting for it to go down. I don't think we're going to see a goal right away in this contest. I think you will have some chance to get some value live. But $1.25, that's a great bargain here, I think, for a Dallas team that could easily cover this themselves and get 2 in the first period.
There you go, liking that over in the first period. All right, Anaheim, Vancouver, 2 games left. Vancouver minus 170, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. I'm jumping on the Quackers again. I am. Look, was it pretty? No. Obviously, they didn't play. Nobody played good defensively. That ended up being pond hockey supreme with Anaheim and San Jose the other night. Up and down the ice. The goaltending wasn't particularly good from either Kakkonen. It was Kaka, if you ask me, in that game. And Stolarz wasn't exactly sharp in net either, although it doesn't help when his own teammate scores on his own net. And Silverberg, beautiful wrist shot beating his own goaltender in that game, giving San Jose one of their goals. But I don't know. To me, Anaheim, again, now it's 2 wins in a row for a team that's dramatically struggled to begin the season, but a team I stuck by my initial preseason thought. I think there's some better talent in this team and ability than we've seen early in the season. And at the same point in time, Vancouver, too bloody inconsistent and too riddled with injuries, to be quite honest with you, to be trustworthy, laying minus 170. That's really the crux of this, in my opinion. There's just, if you look at this Vancouver team coming into the game tonight, Brock Besser's on IR. You're without 2 starting defensemen in Dermott and Pullman. Bo Horvat has shown up for you the last couple of games. Nobody else has offensively. That's concerning for Vancouver. You're still struggling to keep pucks out of your own net on a consistent basis. And the one thing Anaheim can do, and they're showing it here these last few games, they can score. When they've got Henrique is starting to feel it now. What a goal he scored the other night. Zegras, of course, who had a great interaction with James Reimer the other night, which was absolutely hilarious. They got to keep – they know what they should do? Never mind that it was an ESPN game. All right. Who cares? Put a mic on Trevor Zegras every game the rest of the season.
Yeah.
You're going to get some gems. The guy's got, one hell of a great personality. I like when he sees James on the list. He goes, James. Just the way he it's just the way he said it was absolutely hilarious. James. No, that's the kind of shit that's going to make hockey more popular, right? The interaction with the players, guys with personality and charisma. And definitely Trevor Zegras has that. And he's got the ability, obviously, on the ice. But no, I'm going to take a shot here with plus 150 Anaheim. No, it will not be a best bet like Anaheim was the other night against San Jose. But I am going to take a shot here with these Anaheim Ducks plus 150 in this game. And I like the over a little bit too. How could you not? Anaheim can't be trusted defensively. And right now, neither can Vancouver either. They're giving up still, even though they've won a couple of games, there's still a lot of leaks in the back end right now for the Vancouver Canucks. One thing that is important to point out, though, for Vancouver going into this game tonight is Quinn Hughes looks like he will be back on that blue line for that. Actually returned in the New Jersey game last minute, but he will be a second game back tonight for the Vancouver Canucks and probably will feel a little bit more comfortable, after getting that game under his belt against the Devils the other night. But I'm on Anaheim here and also I'll look toward the over, which opened 6. There's still a couple 6s, but most books have moved to a 6.5. And just quickly on props, Horvat for Vancouver, because he's the one guy that's feeling it right now. He's the captain. He's led by example. I think he's been their best player the last couple games. He's had back-to-back 2-goal games. So I think him to score a goal worth a look. Kuzmenko as well for Vancouver. And then you could go with 4 that I think are live for Anaheim. Comtois, Zegras, Henrique, Vetrano. Maybe even throw in a Ryan Strome, who's been ice cold, but he finally got a goal the other night against San Jose. And maybe that gets Ryan Strome going a little bit for Anaheim. What do you think here, Alex? Ducks, Canucks?
Yeah, this is what I'm going to look for, a live over spot. I wanted to get this to drop to 5.5. Anything $1.15. So pick a range of 5.5. I think we'll be able to grab that live in gaming and get that over as well. Like I say, can't trust these two teams defensively. And as far as the side, Ducks, they haven't really been a good pick for me as an underdog so far. So I want to, see if they can prove that they can win. Of course, Vancouver laying $1.70 with them. That's just a rough go as well. So live over if it drops to 5.5 in a pick 'em range.
Spencer Martin, by the way, in net for Vancouver, giving Demko some rest. He was not bad last year for them and started out the year with a win for the Canucks against Pittsburgh in his one start, 5-1. So keep an eye on this. Again, this is now his second start. Can he duplicate that? He's still a guy that's been, basically a minor league goalie for many years. And now he's, he's firmly entrenched as the backup now to Thatcher Demko here in Vancouver. Great start against Pittsburgh. We'll see if he can keep it going here tonight against Anaheim. That's the big question. But you can't complain about the way even last year he played for the Canucks, Spencer Martin, down the stretch. We'll see if he can keep it going, though, tonight. All right, final game, Florida, San Jose. Florida minus 205, road favorites, 6.5. The total in this game. By the way, this is an ESPN Plus game, as is the Bruins Rangers, which I forgot to mention earlier. So don't be looking on Center Ice or any packages or your local regional network for those games. No MSG, no Nesson, no Bally, Florida, no Bay Area broadcast here for those two games. Boston Rangers. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to hear Randy Hahn. I can't believe that. I can't believe that whatsoever. But yeah, Boston Rangers will be ESPN Plus. It'll be Bob Wischusen and Ray Ferraro doing that game. Bob Wischusen's great, by the way. Does a great job. He'll be doing Bruins and Rangers. And Florida, San Jose, the gals are back. It's Leah Hextall and Cassie Campbell-Pascal again tonight for a sequel. With hopefully Leah Hextall, if it goes to a shootout, remembers that, hey, the shootout's actually over.
Yeah,
at the time. That was kind of rough. That was kind of rough. I mean, it was just that radio silence after the final save was made by Stolars there, and it's like, and it's over. It's like, oh man,
I joked around. I said, "Did she have a live bet on San Jose?" Or the way that ended, was just like she was just completely as if her mic got cut off for a second, and all of a sudden just came back like not knowing what's going on. Like the game did end, right? Like it's as if there was a hesitation of the puck going in or not. So that was a funny moment for sure.
It was a funny moment. It's a funny moment. She's trying her best, Leah. Cassie's excellent. Cassie's phenomenal. I think as an analyst, she's really good. This game should be really good. This game's a really good prop game, in my opinion. I actually like Florida team total over in this game. I'm going to roll with that here. This team's snake bit a little bit offensively right now, especially the Arizona game. That was insane. They didn't score, multiple chances late in that game. Pamelka was outstanding. You talk about shots and shot attempts and expected goals. It's through the roof. At some point, it's going to burst for Florida offensively. I mean, they are getting they should be scoring more goals than they have so far this season. This could be the night where the floodgates open a little bit. So I like Florida here, team total over 3.5 in this game. It's only minus 125 in some spots. A really good bet here, in my opinion. We know San Jose can struggle to keep the puck out of their own net, and boy, did they ever against Anaheim the other night. And you look at their defensive trajectory the last few games, they've given up 4 to Vegas. They've given up 3 to Toronto, 4 to Tampa, 6 to Anaheim. They've given up, 4+ multiple times. I think Florida's more than capable. And it kind of feels like this game where we see this often. All the shit ton of goals you should have scored against Arizona, they're going to end up going in tonight. For the Florida Panthers if they keep this up. So I like Florida team total over 3.5. Lean to the full game over, but more so the team total for the Panthers I like here over 3.5. As far as props go, let's start with Florida. Colin White is stepping up, getting chances, scored the other night, actually scored their only goal against Arizona. He's going to get a great price here for the Panthers to score a goal in this game tonight, and I think it's worth the look. Colin White at plus 4. Yeah, plus 500 in some spots to score a goal for Colin White tonight for the Florida Panthers. Brandon Montour, it didn't capitalize the other night, but he is a guy that's been shooting the puck a lot, playing number 1 power play with Aaron Ekblad out, and you can get plus 600 in some spots for him to score a goal. Brandon Montour for the Florida Panthers, I think that's worth a look. Again, tons of chances, no goals to show for it, but E2, Cool Mint Lusterinen, I think is worth that look for a goal scorer prop once again tonight for the Florida Panthers. And then from the San Jose side of things, this is maybe we're a day late and $1 short, right? That's the biggest concern with this one. Erik Karlsson, who looks as healthy as he's been in years, who has his offensive mojo back, his shooting the puck from everywhere. They're feeding him on the power play. Every time they have a power play, they don't put the pucks toward the front of the net for the forwards. No, they're feeding it to Karlsson for the one-timer. Like, they are really making him the star of the power play, and he is basically taking advantage of it in terms of offensive production. He has a whopping 9 goals already this season for San Jose, and he has 6 goals in the last 3 games combined. Of course, the hat trick that he had against Anaheim. And at many books, we're talking about a guy with 9 goals on the season, 6 in his last 3 games alone. He is plus 475 in some spots to score a goal tonight. I shit you not. That is the definition of insanity right there. Now, this could be the night where finally, he gets shut down or, the hot streak runs out a bit. But you, I think, have to take that price with what we're seeing out of Erik Karlsson right now. I mean, it's plus 475. The guy's got 6 goals in the last 3 games, and he's shooting the puck from everywhere right now for the San Jose Sharks. So it's an incredible player prop price. Win or lose, it's a must play, in my opinion. Plus 475, Erik Karlsson. Alex, what do you think here, Florida, San Jose?
Yeah, like you said about the expected goals for the Panthers, this is definitely one of those games where Paul Maurice can kind of let the reins back on this team from that defensive angle. Let them run like they do, like they were last year, and they could kind of name their score in this contest. But also, I don't think San Jose is going to be able to do much to punch back, because with Bobrovsky in net, he is 11-5-2 with a 2.33 goals against, a 931 save percentage, and 2 shutouts in 18 career starts against the Sharks. So he's always stepped up against this team. I might even take a small shot with the under 2.5 goals at plus $1.05 with San Jose. But I also like Florida to get things rolling early. I'm going to go with them on the first period puck line, laying a half a goal at plus 130. So I got 2 plays here. Panthers first period puck line, plus 130. And then Sharks team total under 2.5, plus 105.
All right, Sharks under their team total, and Florida first period puck line, and I like that Florida team total over 3.5 here in this one. Bobrovsky, Bobrovsky hasn't played well, flat out. this year. Not played his best anyway. I mean, he's given up 3 goals in every start, at least 3. 4, 3, 3, 3, 4. That's what he's given up in the 5 starts. They've sat him out the last 2 games against Ottawa and Arizona, gave Spencer Knight the start. And Spencer Knight, played well, I think, in both of those games, well enough for the team to win. This is now a San Jose team that we think long-term, they're not going to be a great offensive team. And they have scored a few more goals lately on this homestand, but we still don't think of San Jose as an offensive juggernaut. This is supposed to be a spot for Bobrovsky to step up, play well, and get on a little bit of a groove here and get on a bit of a roll, start playing better, because it's not been good enough. And look, he's going to continue. Paul Maurice is going to continue to give Spencer Knight more starts if Bobrovsky doesn't improve. I mean, 3.07 goals against an .897 save percentage. He's got to be better than that. All right, the numbers have to be better than that for Bobrovsky. So here's a big opportunity for him, against the San Jose team. Take advantage of this opportunity and play well. Play the way a guy getting paid the way you are should be right now for the Florida Panthers. We'll see if goalie Bob can step up for the Panthers tonight against the San Jose Sharks. Great stuff. Great show. Tons of analysis. We packed it in for 13 games on this loaded Thursday NHL card. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. Make sure you're checking that out. $10 a month. Great content daily. Totals charts, goalie charts, power ratings, daily card for the Ice Guys show, and more video content, more of it on the way as well. Patreon.com/Ice Guys for just $10 a month. Make sure you take advantage of that. All right, great stuff. Best bets to wrap up this loaded Thursday edition of the Ice Guys. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, we're heading over to the west side of Chicago. Blackhawks and Kings tonight. LA has scored at least 4 goals in 4 of their last 5 contests. We're getting a great price here of 3.5 at even money against Arvid Soderblom, a goalie I do not trust one bit. It was a fun ride for the Hawks that first week and a half. I think reality's starting to set in now. They're probably going to lose another game tonight, but I like the Kings team total over 3.5 at even money is my best bet for Thursday.
All right, LA Kings team total over 3.5. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. This normally doesn't happen, but him and I are on the same game for best bet tonight. LA Chicago over 6 for me in this game at -115 for best bet. I think it's a great option. Kings been trending over. 7 of the last 10 have gone over the total for the LA Kings. Chicago, I think after getting shut down by the Islanders, you'll see a better offensive effort from them tonight against the LA Kings. And I can see that the Kings now, this is going to be their 3rd road game in 4 nights. A little more sloppy defensively tonight. So I think Chicago can find the back of the net, and I sure as hell think LA will against Arvid Soderblom and this struggling Blackhawks defense. So let's go with LA Chicago over 6 -115. For my best bet for this Thursday card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. And I haven't said this before, but Apple and Spotify will allow you to review the show. If you could do us a solid, give us a 5-star review. Hey, you could tell us we suck too and give us a 0. But any review would be great. Hopefully a good one. But give us a review and give us a rating too, especially on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, because you are able to submit reviews for each show and each podcast with those 2 platforms.
Yeah, that definitely helps us out for sure. The more 5-star ratings we can get. And as well, and also you mentioned, of course, patreon.com. Check that out. The Ice Guys store. We got some new shirts coming out pretty soon. Working on a couple of the different designs. We've got rolling in the hopper for that. Like I said, so we got a lot of things rocking and rolling. So definitely check out everything. I put the link tree in the chat box. That's link tree. So linktr.ee/the Ice Guys. That gives you everything you need. Our YouTube channel. It gives us the Patreon, the store, all of our personal accounts, and the Ice Guys account on Twitter. And also make sure to follow National Hockey Now on YouTube as well. Yeah. If you like this channel, subscribe to this channel. Make sure to subscribe to that channel too, because there's plenty of other content on there. And of course, the full show is recapped on that on their YouTube page as well once we get off the air.
Exactly. And look, they're going to keep adding. Like they're hiring a ton of writers, beat reporters. They're hiring more and more people. Eventually, they want to get that site to the point where every NHL team has a site. They've got LA, Dallas, Montreal, Calgary, Toronto, Vancouver, Detroit, Washington, Philly, Vegas. New York Islanders, San Jose, Florida, Colorado, Boston, of course, Pittsburgh. Dan Kingerski, covers the Penguins. Our guy, Jimmy Murphy, we're hopefully finally going to get next week on the show, although he's been busy as shit. But we're going to try finally to get the weekly segment with Jimmy going next week on the show. Adrian Dater, Colorado. George Richards, Florida. Shang Peng, San Jose. I mean, you go on down the list. They all do great work. Constantly keeping you up to date on all those teams. So make sure you check out nationalhockeynow.com. No doubt, great team-related content on the site. Great stuff for Alex P. Smith. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on Friday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.